Ghosts are one of the most ubiquitous folkloric characters. They're basically all of human history. Unlike vampires or whatever, which are creatures created in fiction to draw parallels with our real world and explore major societal ills, ghosts have pretty much always been there, going as far back as the written word and maybe even farther. In ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization over 6,000 years ago, local religions believed in the afterlife and how the process of moving from our world to the afterlife could be eased by offerings of food and drink. The ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead, written in the 2nd millennium BCE, similarly wrote of spells and incantations used to ease the passage to the afterlife. And now today we have ghost hunting TV shows where a bunch of wankers stand around in dark rooms and pretend they heard spooky noises. Much like with vampires, there are a lot of ways you can go about adapting the ghost into a video game format. Sometimes they're cute, like that wee ghost that hangs around in Animal Crossing. Sometimes there are dead kids stuck in a hedge maze like in Casper. And sometimes you get a genuinely terrifying hardcore horror experience like in Fatal Frame. But that's a story for another video, because sometimes you don't need to catch them, you don't need to fight them, you don't need to exorcise them. Sometimes you need to manage them, like in Ghostmaster for the PS2. Hey, I'm Heather, and welcome to Retro Relapse's Heatherween Special. Okay, so fuck the Wikipedia intro this time, because we are playing a relatively obscure PC game from the year of our Lord, 2003, and as a result, we're gonna have to talk about compatibility options. I haven't had to do this since the Fire Warrior video, and now I distinctly remember why I only play games I could get running on a console for the past year. Okay, so I originally wanted to review the PS2 copy of Ghostmaster and run it on an emulator. This was a bad idea. The game was a right fucker to emulate, and nothing I did on PC SX2 could make it run above 66% speed. Nothing worked. But it's no big deal, I thought. The game's on PC. In fact, it's a PC game first and foremost, with a weird console port. I have the game on Steam, so let's just play it on there, because if any issues do arise, there will be some helpful gremlin in the community tab offering to lend a helping hand. So I fire up the game and it runs in 640 by 480 because of course it does. This is a PC game from 2002. So I decided to set the resolution to the highest settings just to get my bearings, and it doesn't work. It didn't even save my graphics settings. I save it at a high resolution with the max graphics settings. I quit the game, I restart the program, and nope, nada. So I scoured the internet to try and find any way to get the setting to save, and this is a known issue. One fix that was recommended to me was to change the settings and start a new game, enter gameplay, and then save the game and then quit and restart. That does make sense. Maybe it doesn't actually create a save file until you play, so that's weird but not the worst thing in the world. So I restart, and nothing. It saved my graphics settings this time, but we're still stuck in the 640 by 480 limbo. So now I'm starting to sweat. There must be a config file here somewhere, an INI that I can just edit directly. And there is, so I open up Notepad, change the settings, and still nothing. So now I'm getting bothered. It's 2 PM and I haven't had my third sugar-free monster of the day yet, so I'm jonesing. I try and search for a solution for my settings not saving. Someone recommends the Rejected Ghost mod, which I'm pretty sure was one of the better songs on Paramore's seminal 2009 rock album Brand New Eyes, so I trust it immediately. The mod also adds a bunch of new ghosts, but I have no idea what the fuck that even means since we haven't played the game yet. So I install the mod and it adds a launcher. Amazing, wonderful, 10 out of 10. I decide the windowed mode is probably the best way to go about this, since the game seems pretty volatile at the best of times. So we set our custom resolution and start the game, and I shitteth ye not. The game runs at the correct resolution and is windowed, but it makes my PC run at 640 by 480. I have literally no idea how this happened. I've never experienced this problem with a PC game before. It's such a bizarre issue to have. And nothing I do works, not even slightly. Anything I do just seems to create more problems. So now I'm chain smoking 4 fags at a time, and then I stumble across the best solution probable. Just run the fucker at 480p. I'm going to fucking explode, man. I can't. So in a last ditch effort just before writing the script, I decided to give it one more try. One last suggestion. I told Google to sling its hook and went straight to the Steam discussion forum, where some guy just said, yeah, I tried everything, but setting my Windows scale from 100%, 125% fixed it. And I'm sitting there, looking at the screen, thinking, there is literally no way this works. So I try it, and it works. Perfectly. The menu even starts showing me the option to run it at 1920 by 1080. I have literally no clue how this works. If any of you tech gremlins in my community want to tell me why this works, I'll do my best to understand it, but yeah, thank you Mysterious Steam Man, I'll never forget you. This is the true horror of Heatherween. Technical difficulties. Anyway, let's run the Wikipedia intro. Ghostmaster is a 2002 ghost management game developed by Sick Puppies and published by Empire Interactive for the PC, and released in 2004 and developed and published by Empire Interactive for Xbox and PS2. It got fairly positive reviews for PC upon release, and some mixed to oof reviews from the PS2 and Xbox. Ghostmaster is a game that I remember being fairly heavily advertised at the time, as a sort of mix between The Sims and Dungeon Keeper, two games that I loved as a kid and I still love to this day, so it felt like it was right up my alley. Ever since I was a kid, I always loved those sort of quirky management games, and the early 2000s was the golden age of this stuff. PC gaming hadn't quite been hit by the console fever yet, and the market for weird shit was super vibrant. You could walk into any game store in 2005 and see plenty of copies of the movies, Black and White, Evil Genius, Startopia and Dungeon Keeper, all for stupidly low prices. And weirdly, I never saw a copy of Ghostmaster out in the wild. In fact, it wasn't until doing research for this Retro Relapse video that I discovered there was even a console port. So clearly something about Ghostmaster didn't really capture the public imagination in the same way that Dungeon Keeper or Evil Genius did. In fact, I forgot the game even existed until I got Steam in 2010. Why is Ghostmaster forgotten, when just this year we got an Evil Genius 2 and Startopia 2? Well, let's take a look. Ghostmaster makes a stark first impression with a main menu that loads at the correct resolution. What a fucking concept, eh? We futz around with the menus and note how they're saved this time, and then hit new game, and we're hit with this Halloween bullshit, and I love it so much. If you remember my medieval video, go watch it, it's decent. You'll remember how I got on my knees and sucked that game's bony toes for just how vivid and unapologetically Halloween it was. And Ghostmaster is much the same in that regard. It starts with this pumpkin for no good goddamn reason, and then we're thrust into this weird Halloween Ouija board to enter our name. The framing device of Ghostmaster is weird. I think we're like the manager of ghosts. We're like Malcolm McLaren, but significantly less haunted.
What a fucking rotter.
So we enter the name of our Ghostmaster, henceforth known as Shagger, on this weird as fuck Ouija board. This isn't what most Ouija boards look like, by the way. I have no idea what's going on, and this is an awful way to enter your name, but it's such a brazenly shit idea that I'm actually kind of in love with it. Like the original PSP's 9-digit mobile phone keypad. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. We're chucked onto the world map, and it's an actual neighborhood map with pop-up houses showing the levels with the wee pumpkins in the corner. I love this, I love this, I love this. I love this more than that guy who threw eggs at Thatcher's statue. I love this almost as much as the wee skeleton guy from Medieval's opening menu. I'm just so in love. I'm not quite as in love with it as I am with Spike though. He is the perfect man. Me and Spike can sit down and have marshmallows and Greg's Empire biscuits and play Medieval, and he can suck my blood and I can suck— So we head to the tutorial where we get berated by this woman for not understanding the game mechanics, and my brothers, sisters and siblings in Christ, this is one of the most tedious tutorials I've ever played. I know there's inevitably someone in the comments going to tell me how all obvious tutorials are bad, and we should strive to better integrate tutorials with the base gameplay to the point that you don't even really notice that you're playing a tutorial, and yeah mate, I get it. I also played Portal when I was 14, but I don't actually mind a good obvious tutorial in a game. Sometimes it can be nice to slowly ease into things in a really guided way. This is just tedious though, and I can't help but think there is probably an easier way to do this. I guess 2002 will do as 2002 does. The basic concept for Ghostmaster is that you're in control of a bunch of ghosts and have to use their spooky ghost powers in order to scare the shit out of residents of whatever building you're terrorizing at the time. The framing of these levels changes, like how in one level there are a bunch of uni students who don't respect the dead, so you have to go interrupt their seance, but the overall motivation behind the haunting seems to be, fuck it, it'll be a good laugh, and I can respect that. It's a bit of a unique take on the genre in all honesty. I've played enough Phasmophobia in my time to know all the different ways to identify ghosts. John Jackson! So it's nice to see the scenario flipped here. I can't actually think of that many games where you play as a ghost. Stop bringing up Casper, you know what I mean. Really, I think the closest thing you get to a game where you run around as an evil undead creature scaring the shit out of locals is that Burger King game, but that's for another time. Every ghost in Ghostmaster has a tether, which determines where they can be placed in the world. Some ghosts can be placed anywhere indoors, like our good pal Boo over here. Isn't he precious? Different ghosts also have different powers unique to them, so the witch lady here can only be placed outside or in passageways that can create fog or harsh winds, whereas this wee gremlin lad can be placed into stereos to make the lecky go all mental. You'll need to utilise a variety of different ghostly powers, and they all have different effects on the humans. Humans have three sort of health bars: belief, which is their skepticism and their willingness to believe in ghosts, their terror, which is how scared they are, and their madness, which does what it says in the tin. You'll need to fill the belief bar by doing low-level spooks like creating a fog or leaks that appear out of nowhere, and then hit them with terror by throwing shit around the room or chasing them. It's a lot of fun here, and there is some strategic depth, but it's no Paradox game or anything. It's very much a surface level system, which I really wish was expanded upon more. There's a nice variety of different objects you can haunt, but they don't really change your ghost powers all that much. I got really excited when I realised I could put a ghost in this moose head on one of the dorm rooms, but it just acts as a location to pin the ghost to, rather than having any real unique animations or benefits. Like, how cool would it be if you could put a ghost in the moose head and then have it go full Evil Dead too? That'd be cool as fuck. Instead, it doesn't actually matter where you put the ghosts, they all have the same powers no matter the location. And any unique ghost animations are usually tied to these optional side quests where you help a ghost. Throughout the levels, you'll see some ghosts that are chained to a given object. These are essentially wee optional puzzles that, once complete, give you control of that ghost and access to their unique powers. They all have a problem that needs solved, and they'll tell you how they ended up in this predicament, and then you have to go figure out how to solve it. Solutions can be as simple as scaring a particular resident out of the house, and others that require some more creative thinking. Like this wee guy who's tethered to a glass on a shelf. It took me ages to figure out how to shatter the glass like I was obviously supposed to. I tried putting Boo in there to throw things around and smash it. I tried putting every ghost possible in the room. It turns out you have to put the impish ghost outside and use her shatter power, which did the trick. These are nice optional side objectives and give you some replay value to the levels because you can come back to any level after you complete it the first time, so you're never going to be stuck missing that one ghost with no way to get them back. Levels in Ghostmaster usually take anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour, and once you're finished you'll get a number of points depending on the optional ghost you helped, and other stuff like how many scares or faints you caused. The standard way to win a level is to have every resident turn tail and run off the map, so you have to make sure that all your ghosts are placed just in the right areas to create kill zones, or spook zones I guess, to get them out as quick as possible and to help get the highest score you can. But there are also plenty of levels with unique objectives, like making sure the police find 2 bodies, or this one that's very much Evil Dead inspired, where you have to trick a bunch of college kids into reading from the totally not Necronomicon so they can summon a demon for you. Doing all this as fast as possible and saving all the optional ghosts will net you a higher score and more gold plasm, which you can use to upgrade your ghosts with new powers in the training area. Also, when you finish a level, your score gets put in the high scoreboard, but they call it the high scare board, and I'm in love with this. This is the goofiest shit ever. I can't get over how adorable this game is. But that's all in the broad aesthetics and the set dressing of the game. You can have any style you want for a game, but if that style is poorly executed, then it's gonna be all for naught. So how does Ghostmaster look and sound? Pretty good, for the time anyway. The game is very small in scale, only ever showing one house at a time. They're all nicely detailed with lots of little touches. You start out in a college house and you'll find pretty much everything you expect in there. Rooms are nicely decorated with clutter items and the ever-present wardrobe, which is nice to see. Environments definitely look lived in, and never really all that barren, especially for the time. When you view the game from the Dollhouse Sim-like perspective, there's not a lot to complain about at all. It looks like a decent looking mid-budget PC game from 2003. Definitely not the worst looking PC game released that year, but it's obviously no Silent Hill 3. Texture quality is fairly mid-tier, but the little details are just enough to carry over the edge. It's never like black and white where all the textures are ugly as sin and everything looks blocky as all fuck, at least when viewed from a decent distance. With all the human characters in the game, you can click to zoom in on them. You can get a first person view of these characters showing their point of view, and doing that really shows the game's age. These textures were definitely not meant to be looked at up close. Also, the human characters, upon close inspection, do look like they're made out of Play-Doh or something, which is a common issue for the time. You'll notice that their animations aren't that stellar, but this feature is something you can easily avoid, although there are nice touches. Like, if the human is scared, you'll be able to hear their heavy breathing and their heartbeat. Ghosts all look pretty great though, for the time I mean. There's a lot of imagination put into them, and they do have the whole Team Fortress 2 thing of every ghost having a distinct silhouette, so you're never going to think to yourself, oh, which ghost is that? And the problem with Ghostmaster is that, well, that's pretty much it, and it gets really repetitive after a while, especially if you're grinding for the gold plasm to get more abilities for your ghosts. And while there is some replay value in trying to catch them all and complete your ghosted decks, it does mean you'll be playing the same levels over and over and over again, and there really aren't that many of them through the relatively brisk 10-hour story. And so much of that time is just spent waiting on ghosts to do stuff. You're very much at the mercy of the AI since you can't actually directly control any of the ghosts. You can tell them what abilities they can use, but not when to use them, and as a result you spend a lot of time just waiting for them to cast a spell and spook a character. And that's not very fun at all. If there was more strategic depth here, and a few more mechanics to keep an eye on, I think this could be a really fun management sim. As it stands right now though, Ghostmaster feels a bit like a tech demo or a proof of concept. Like, did you ever see those beta images or footage of The Sims? And it doesn't quite look finished yet and they're still getting their shit sorted? It very much feels like that. A good proof of concept's not a fun idea, but dragging it out over 10 hours is a bit of a stretch. As in, the ghost stretch from Casper. Go watch my Casper video, it's pretty decent. So, should you play Ghostmaster? Yeah, fuck it, why not? There's nothing to be lost from playing Ghostmaster apart from the price of a Frappuccino, and it's often on sale for less than £1, so I don't really see anything bad coming of it. It's one of those long forgotten PC games that entered the Steam store and was then quietly forgotten about apart from the core fans. And these people do exist, make no mistake. There are people out there who swear by Ghostmaster and can't get enough of it. I mentioned before how there was a mod released only a couple of years ago which adds a bunch of cut ghosts in the game, and some mod forums are far more active than I was actually expecting, so it's clear that someone out there loves Ghostmaster if it has such a committed fan following 20 years later. Maybe that person is you. Who knows, it's less than a quid, go nuts. We never saw another Ghostmaster game. While it had a positive critical reception, it failed to be commercially viable and the developer's sick puppies went under in 2004. And that's a shame. There's a lot of potential here and the concept in itself opens the door to so many interesting ideas that sadly never got expanded upon. And I can't help but feel like 20 years later it's the prime subject for a reboot or a spiritual successor. Niche weird idea PC games are maybe more popular now than they've ever been, and I genuinely feel like Ghostmaster could have a piece of that. We'll probably never see a Ghostmaster game again, and that's a shame, but the ideas which spawned it live on to this day, and maybe one day we'll get something that fills the niche of this playfully spooky Halloween treat. Hey, thank you all so much for watching, it's good to be back. I hope you all have a wonderful festive season, whatever you're celebrating. Retro Relapse is now a Patreon supported show, so please consider contributing on Patreon. Obviously it's absolutely optional, and I want to give a special thanks to my £5 a month patrons: House of the Ted, Noel Castler, Willow, Martimus Prime 089, Myrixica, and JC. I'll be back in the new year with something very special, and until then, I'm Heather, and I'll catch you later.